right, it is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. AEW Dynamite off the air, but bodyslam.net, we are live everywhere. For some AEW Dynamic'd up, Jose Gonzalez here. It has been a good streak of episodes we've had of Dynamite over the last few weeks. I cannot complain. But also joining me, my esteemed co-host, you see him on Raw Dogs. You see him on Between Two Beards, Firmly Inc., all the things. Legend has it he is a year older than last episode. JPJ,
Yes.
happy belated birthday, friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The legend is true. I am a year older since the last time we were here. But yeah, you are correct. I would say, AEW has been kind of good for a little bit now, but this last month or so has been very strong. They've been giving us some good stuff on Wednesday nights, making our jobs easier coming on here and being able to talk about fun shows. So yeah,
Yeah.
feeling good.
Yeah, really haven't had much to really complain about, especially because we're just about a week before we get into beach break, but 2 weeks away, barely from Double or Nothing. So I'm excited about that. But of course, it just wouldn't be a Body Slam podcast, post show, whatever you want to call it. Well, to talk about our friends at Shroom Bar. I mean, come on, you know us, you love them. You should have tried them by now, but if not, we have a deal for you. But yes, like always, this is brought to you by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It is made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it'll actually stick in your head rather than forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. And we all know you need that on those nasty ass gym mats. And on top of that, it also has 12 grams of protein. So make sure you're going to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off of your first order at eatshroombar.com. So Shroombar, like always, thank you for partnering with us here at bodyslam.net. If you guys have thoughts and opinions about tonight's episode of Dynamite, the easiest way to make sure that you are recognized, that you are heard, send a slam chat. Make sure that you are popping in the YouTube. Send that super chat. We will show it loud and proud on the screen. Unless you say some out-of-pocket stuff that could get you canceled. Remember, the internet is forever, folks. But yes, aside from that, I mean, we started out pretty hot. I mean, we started out with Hangman Adam Page making his way out to the ring. It's always interesting seeing when AEW wants to start for promo versus starting with a match. But I feel like this also kind of sets into some stuff that we're going to be seeing next week, which I'm okay with. We got to see Hangman talking about the journey he's been on over the last 2 years, where it felt like he lost himself because of everything that was going on with Swerve and how he was coming after his family, to the point where he was seeking vengeance. He took everything that Swerve had and almost was able to finish the job in the ring at All Out, but for whatever reason, he couldn't, and he didn't even know why. But he did say he doesn't forget. He doesn't think he's going to forgive, but he's trying to put that in the past so he could focus on the finals of the Owen Hart tournament, which will bring out one Will Ospreay to not only acknowledge the fact that Hangman's been going through this whole journey, but also a fun fact, for all of the times that their paths may have crossed on rosters and many companies, this is the first time they've been face to face in the ring, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And also of note, Ospreay is talking about the fact that it doesn't change the fact that even though he empathizes with everything with Hangman, it's not about his redemption, but about Ospreay's ascension, finally going all the way, getting to that world championship. But before we could even get into more of that, it just wouldn't be an episode of Dynamite without the Don Callis family making their way out, and Don Callis doing what he always does and berating Will Ospreay to death. Talking about how he's showed his stupidity from the time he was with the Don Callis family until now, and he's going to show it again by also underestimating Hangman by being willing to go face to face with a violent, unstable sociopath who put his mentor in the retirement home. Call back to Christopher Daniels over the last year. And then Ospreay making the challenge, saying any 2 members of the Don Callis family can face them in the ring and they can go at it. And as he's doing that, it seems like he's trying to grab a Hangman solidarity, and Hangman's just kind of,
Yeah.
no, I'm good. I'm good. But alas, we do see Don Callis does accept it, and then also make sure that he's aware that this is going to be handled before, or if Hangman doesn't have a mental breakdown before next week when the match takes place. But an interesting exchange of words to start off the show, JPJ.
Yeah, I loved it. There was a nice moment with Hangman when he first came out and the crowd's cheering for him, and he said something like, I don't really know why one of you even still cheers for me, but I just want you guys to know that it is very much appreciated. And you could see he was emotional about it. I thought that was a very nice moment. And then I thought Will Ospreay was absolutely on fire during this promo. He was so good. And that line that you said, it's not about your redemption, it's about my ascension. Killer line by him. I thought the emotion of Hangman in the first half of it, and then the fire that Ospreay brought to it, and the way it started too, with Ospreay saying like, it's a pleasure to meet you. Like, we've never talked before. Like you said, this is the first time in all of our times crossing paths that we've talked to each other. I thought it was great. I was excited about the match before this segment. I'm even more excited about this match at Double or Nothing now after the segment. Obviously, we're going to get the Can They Coexist tag match at Beach Break next week. We're going to get that, but that'll be fine. But very, very good promo to start the show. And they had been starting with matches the last couple of weeks. So I thought it was pretty good to kind of do this. And I thought, yeah, it got me super, super excited for this match at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, and I feel like it's interesting too because we don't often see the Can They Coexist thing in an AEW ring. That seems very formulaic of WWE. But I do think it's also going to be interesting to see exactly if they're actually going to go all the way with the enemy of my enemy is my friends thing, or if we see one abandon the other and realize, hey, we got tournament finals coming up this weekend. I'm good taking the L here and letting you get beat down a little extra so I don't have to work so hard on a Sunday. But alas, only time will tell. And then, of course, as we get ready to run down everything going on tonight's Dynamite, we do have Stokely Hathaway and FTR interrupting everybody on commentary and immediately calling out Tony Schiavone because, of course, they did. Why wouldn't they? And asks if he has a problem with Stokely or with FTR. Mentions that Tony called Stokely a snake in the grass on Collision last week and retorts that Tony is a pale, decrepit piece of shit. And as Schiavone gets ready to defend himself against Stoke, you see Cash, you see Dax, and they're like, no, you sit down there. And then they also talk about the fact that Daniel Garcia laid out the challenge for Collision tomorrow night. Any member of FTR facing him one-on-one. And Cash was talking about how they felt like they were father figures to Daniel Garcia and that sometimes you have to learn lessons the hard way. So they definitely make that threat. They said to tell Tony Schiavone to make sure that Nigel McGuinness is also at ringside tomorrow night, which means that I feel like if not one of them, both of them going to be taking a bump.
Yeah. I mean, this new vicious FTR just attacking veterans, attacking commentary guys, and Nigel, listen, he can scrap. You want to go after Nigel's going to give it back to you. That's not going to be your typical announcer that you're going after. Like, Nigel will go right after him. And if something were to lead to Nigel going up against one of the FTR guys, and I'm all in, no pun intended, I'm all in on that. That would be fantastic. I like this too. I thought Stokely was very good on the mic. I thought, him kind of talking shit to Schiavone was perfect. I love Tony standing up and like getting in his face and going like, all right, that's enough, and then FTR kind of being like, hold your horses there, buddy. But I like Tony standing his ground too. I thought this was a good, effective segment. I loved like when they were getting ready to leave, like Cash is like touching Tony. He's like patting him on the shoulder, like, it's okay, but he's like doing it in a way that's like, I could kill you at any second right now. Like that creepy, like, oh, it's okay. It's all right. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and I think on top of that too, it's always an interesting dynamic when you have like the established wrestler in the color commentator role, like trying to defend the play-by-play guy. Because we've seen it happen in multiple companies before. I feel like obviously whenever JR was in peril, you'd see Jerry the King Lawler step up and get his ass kicked. But granted, Nigel McGuinness is at least 20 times the wrestler that Jerry the King Lawler ever was.
And what's happening right now in the other company, we have a match this Saturday where an announcer is fighting Gunther in the WWE. It is one of those things. So
And it'll
Yeah.
be a match, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll
Yeah.
happen. I'm sure it'll happen.
Yep.
But no, I liked it. And obviously the tease for Nigel tomorrow night, that gets me excited because we know that, like we said, Nigel is somebody that if they go after him, he'll be ready and he'll be ready to go right back after them. So that could be some exciting stuff that could lead to.
Yeah, and also Nigel coming out of retirement last year and then
Yep.
also having the quality of matches that he had to even after that
Mhm.
long period of being away, whether or not he was going to be medically cleared or not, and then seeing the fact that he had such a good match with Bryan Danielson on his way out as well. So it feels like if it's called for, that Nigel can definitely step up and still go to the same caliber that an FTR could go to right now, where they seem like they're very much in their prime, which I am never going to complain about.
No.
And on to other things I will never complain about. We have Harley Cameron and Anna Jay backstage. They're getting hyped because we have ourselves a women's fatal four-way eliminator match. And then Harley talking about how her and Anna, they bring the T and the A. So Harley talking about her tenacity saying that Anna has the aggression. And then Anna also saying, yeah, and tenacity.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, that too. So I'm glad like they're not afraid to like just like say like, hey, we have some attributes that work in our favor, but also like we're not afraid to get scrappy and step up when we need to, which is refreshing to see because I didn't know how I would feel originally about Anna Jay and Harley Cameron kind of being a duo. But it totally makes sense because you have two women that came into AEW and at the time not really being known as competitors, but when they got the chance to really step up and elevate their craft, they've shown that they've been able to. So of course,
fully. Yeah. I fully agree. I wasn't expecting much from them as a duo, but I feel like I'm a broken record so far in the show. I really enjoyed this backstage segment. I thought it was funny. I thought they got serious when they needed to, and like you said, I think I think doing it this way and like showing off their sexuality a little bit as characters, but doing it in a tasteful, funny, playful way that they're doing it with the innuendos and the stuff like that. I think that's a good thing. Like you said, like they know they have what they have and they're proud of what they have and they're doing it in a way that shows their serious side and kind of that sexy, funny side as well. I thought this was very good. I know hopefully with their division, it would be nice to see some tag titles in the women's division down the line at some point, if that were to happen. And I think that this is a team that everybody would get behind big time. The crowd would be ready for these people, ready for this team.
Yeah, and the crazy part to me is that they had that women's tag team cup back in like 2020, 2021, and it never materialized into tag team championships, which we all thought it would.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about who won that tournament, it's not the worst thing in the world that didn't happen. But I mean, now is a different landscape in AEW. I feel like we have more teams on like that are capable of carrying a tag team championship, even between like the ROH roster in AEW and some free agents that I think would be phenomenal assets to this company. But I mean, it also just shows like, yeah, like we don't have to go full out like bra and panties and like bikinis to like show that wrestling can be sexy, but it's also still like, hey, like, why can't I look gorgeous and also whoop some ass and like not be afraid to like wrap my wrist in barbed wire and choke someone out in the middle of the ring, but also look gorgeous doing it. Like it doesn't have to be just like you're either sexy or you're a wrestler. It can't be both.
Exactly. And I felt like we got to a place where it was kind of separated a little bit, or it felt like it was separated. And that was just like, and as a whole in the wrestling landscape. But I felt like this was a way where it was like, yeah, we can be a badass in the ring that's serious and wants to win championships and do that. And I can be a very attractive woman that knows I'm sexy and I'm going to dress sexy and I'm going to talk about how sexy I am.
Yeah.
And those don't have to be separated. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be the same thing. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yep. And on that note, we head into our first bit of action for the night. The four-way eliminator match. We have Timeless Tony Storm going against Thunder Rosa, the former world champion, going against Anna Jay, and going against Penelope Ford. which ended up being a pretty great opening match, all things considered. I mean, there are a lot of matches on the show that felt like they had like nonstop action. This was one that really felt like it had some nonstop action. They really kind of made the most of what they could with the commercial break too, because we had like almost a full half hour of Dynamite without a commercial break, so we knew it was going to have to break at some point during the match. But they really did a good job, I think, of utilizing every bit of it being a four-way, having some spills to the outside. We got to see them like test the no disqualification stuff. I mean, at one point, you had Penelope Ford low-blowing Tony Storm to break up a pin, and then having them go to the outside and hit the moonsault off the apron, and then Thunder Rosa's like, nah, I'm not going to be outdone. Goes all the way up to the top, hits a tornado, that takes him to the first break. And then during the picture-in-picture, you kind of see like a chain of submissions between all four women, which is always fun to see in kind of a fatal four-way, like who's going to break it up, who doesn't break it up. But we come back, we see Penelope and Tony mixing it up, a German suplex from Tony Storm. We get to see Thunder Rosa hit a huge knee to Tony, then Anna Jay hitting a suplex to Penelope on the floor, and then as that happens, she misses the baseball slide from Thunder Rosa, but still eats a DDT on the floor. And then while they're all getting back up to their feet, we see another moonsault for Penelope Ford, this time out the top rope to the outside. Lots of good action in this one. Got to see a little bit of teamwork from Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm as well. After Tony hit like a huge double hip attack in the corner, we got to see a little bit of poetry in motion with that drop kick. And then, of course, as all this is happening, Megan Bayne makes her way out to the ring to help her friend Penelope Ford and takes out every woman in the match damn near. And as it seems like Anna Jay's trying to get the upper hand, a 2-on-1 happens, and out comes Harley Cameron with a pipe, who sends Megan Bayne to the outside, starts whacking her with that pipe all the way back to the to backstage to kind of get the match back on track there. I mean, Megan Bayne looking strong as hell as always.
Oh, yeah.
And, like the way she did that huge power bomb to Anna Jay in the middle of the ring was phenomenal. That was a huge moment there. And then obviously it leads to Penelope trying to get the advantage, locking in a Muda lock. And then Tony Storm, turnabout is fair play, a low blow to Penelope Ford, and then locks in that crossface chicken wing, the TMC chicken wing, for a submission victory. And Timeless Tony Storm remains undefeated in Eliminator matches. JPJ, any thoughts on this opening contest?
I just love how they're just letting Tony Storm go out there and just beat everybody and just wrestle every week and just be like, yeah, you know, we talked about it a little bit last week too, but like they're just continuing to be like, yeah, we know you have this killer character, but you know, we want to remind people that you're also one of the best wrestlers in the world too. And she's just having these matches show after show, week after week, and she's just killing it. And she's being a real fighting champion and looking strong as hell as the champion, while Mercedes and Jamie Hayter are kind of leading to see who she's going to fight, you know, as her next challenger and things like that. I thought this was really good. I think it set up a nice little tag team match with Megan and Penelope versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron in the future with that whole thing that happened at the end. That'll be a fun tag match or a little tag program if they want to do that. I thought all four women looked strong in this match. I thought Thunder Rosa looked really good. They obviously the Thunderstorm, or as the crowd was chanting, the Thunder Tits reunion there with that little segment that they had there. And even after Tony won the match, they kind of celebrated together in the ring, and kind of Tony lifted up Thunder's arm to get her an applause from the crowd. I thought this was a good showing by all four girls. I thought this was a fun opener. I liked it a lot.
This is awesome, champ. As well,
yeah,
which was nice.
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I thought Tony Storm just continues to look like the best wrestler on the planet. And you know.
And I will say a little coincidence that I've noted, some synergy between AEW and WWE. Why is it that the women's world champions are being the workhorses, having stellar matches week after week, but the men's world champions ain't doing shit?
I don't know. It's very odd, isn't it? Yeah.
And then, I mean, not to pour more salt in the wounds, but we kind of also saw, like, we've seen, like, on both sides where it feels like we go into a pay-per-view and the women's world title match is the superior match to the men's world title that main evented. As we've now seen by Dave Meltzer in the last two instances that it's happened, the women have gotten 5 stars and the men didn't. It's almost like you should push women's wrestling more in television.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see them. You know, they main evented a couple of weeks in a row. Now they had the first match of the night. It's good that we're starting to see them in, spread out throughout the shows. They should still, I would love to see more than just one match a show, like more consistently and things of that nature. And, but it's good to see them kind of putting them in different, it was that 9:30 slot for what felt like 3 years in a row. It was like, 9:30, here's the women's match and a women's promo. And then that's the women's segment
for 10
of the
minutes,
night. Yeah, and like it felt like that forever. At least now we're seeing back-to-back weeks with the women's main event. We're seeing the women being the first match we see on the show, and they're getting time and focus on the matches. You can tell they're put together with importance and storylines throughout. It's, now we just need more of it.
I agree. And you could also tell they're really trying to elevate Collision a little bit more too, because I mean, you will see multiple women's matches more regularly on a Collision, but not even just that. You're also like realizing, hey, we have a whole other 2-hour show. We don't have to load up Dynamite to the point of no return and then try to figure out what's going to fit with an overrun. When you have the other show to actually like have more of these storylines where you don't necessarily have to have them play out on both shows.
100%.
If you're going to try to have like a reason to tune into one over the other, it's okay to like not necessarily have a brand split, but like it's okay to have like a major story that you've been running on Collision and have it pay off there versus
100%.
having a story that bounces between Dynamite and Collision and kind of gets a little muddy where you could have other stuff going on. But
I agree. And we have, we're going to get to it in a little bit, but we have a big time women's match tomorrow night on the live Collision that they booked tonight. And, that's exactly what that should be for. And it's good to see storylines and feuds happening that aren't revolved around titles as well. I think when you have those secondary stories that you can invest in where it's not just about winning a title or something like that, that shows that you're creating depth throughout your whole roster. And that's what we're starting to see a lot more of as well. Which is good.
I love that it's years of storytelling too. So that's another good point when we get into when we talk about the match made for tomorrow in Collision.
Yeah.
Although it was announced during this match that Nick Wayne is defending the Ring of Honor World Television title tonight on Dynamite against someone from Christian Cage's past. Yeah. And this, they make note that this is the last time that we're going to see him before he goes off to Japan tomorrow for the Best of Super Juniors. So exciting stuff there. We come back from the break and we see Crew, Leo Rush and Action Andretti at ringside, trying to get a closer look as the Hurt Syndicate comes out to the ring. They're talking, MVP is talking about how, they've been trying to hurt everybody and noticing that not really anyone's stepping up to them. So kind of seeing who's willing to do so. And then out come Darius and Dante Martin, Top Flight. And they make a good case. They've been talking about how they've been down on their luck. They acknowledge the fact, but they also point out the fact that unlike Crew, they're not afraid to step up to the challenge. And yeah, they might be hurting people, but they're ones to still find a way to get back up and excel when it comes to these championship caliber opportunities. And before they could even fully step in the ring, out comes MJF and just beats the holy hell out of Top Flight. You see Darius Martin go into the ring post and down. He's getting bit in the face. You have Dante Martin getting tossed into the ring steps, his face covered in blood. And then you see Max try to wipe that blood and put it all over his chest. And then he gets into the ring. He stares daggers through Bobby Lashley. He takes the mic from MVP and he tells Bobby, looking in his eyes, "I hurt people." And Bobby takes the mic back. He has a big old shit-eating grin, and then he just says, "I'll have an answer for you next week." And then he still has that big smirk as MJF kind of gets out of the ring pissy, but I still don't think they're going to let him into the Hurt Syndicate, and I still think that we're going to get a Cedric Alexander appearance, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea that you brought up when we talked about it last week. I think it's either that or I think it's something where Bobby finally caves in, but MJF turns like I think it's one of those two things. Again, and I look at, you're going to hear this throughout the majority of the show because I don't think there was anything I really didn't like on it tonight, but I liked this too. I liked MJF showing up. He's just wearing the white, he's wearing the white undershirt and he's ready. He looks like he's ready for a street fight. And that was everything. Yeah. He had the fist taped and, and he was ready. And I loved how he just asked for the mic and he just says, "I hurt people." And he just yelled it right at Bobby. "I hurt people." And you saw the smirk on Bobby's face like, okay. And Shelton's like, oh, like the Shelton's like, hey, all right. And,
like, oh no,
yeah. MVP kind of turns around and doesn't look. And he's like, oh, whatever you want to do, man. And, they're going to stretch it out. Bobby says, I'll give you an answer next week. Instead, I wanted him to just do that. I thought that would have been fun. But yeah, we're going to stretch it out for another week. Yeah, I agree with you. I think your idea is a great idea. I just think, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen where Bobby is going to say yes. He's finally going to cave and go, okay. And by one way or the other, it's just not going to happen. Either MJF's going to say, oh, okay, and then say, no, you took too long and turn on him. Or like you said, the real fourth member shows up and takes out MJF or something. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I honestly feel like as dumb as it was, because we kind of had it last year already. I feel like in the sense of if there's going to be a program with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate, then MJF is kind of going to have to be in that babyface role. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's actually going to be ever a pure babyface, because Lord knows he wasn't last year, Daniel Garcia and everything. So yeah, it's all going to be kind of a facade. And you're just like, oh shit. Like now we have 4 of them. Like, can Max the douchebag find like 3 people to even the odds? Whether he does or not is a miracle, but it's going to be interesting to see kind of like the development there, because it's a different challenge than he's had before, which I can appreciate as well.
Yeah.
And then from that, we also have a little backstage segment with the Young Buck, or with the Elite. They're getting ready for 2 big matches. Okada has that Continental Championship eliminator with Kevin Knight, and he says, Kevin Knight, have a good night, bitch. And walks away. And then Ricochet comes in the frame. The Bucks are talking about how Ricochet kind of pleaded for this trios match to happen, and saying, well, I've beaten Swerve twice. I know how to beat Briscoe, and I know how to beat Bayley. And that you guys have nothing to worry about, and I'll see you out there. So the Bucks are like, okay, we'll take your word for it. And as they get ready to go into their locker room, they see the Death Riders awaiting them.
Sure. And in the dark lock, the lights off. Ominous in there, but yes, very intriguing. Very intriguing.
And before we could get to brass tacks, Marina Shafir shuts the door, and we go out to the ringside area where Nick Wayne is getting interrupted again mid-introduction for this Ring of Honor World Television Championship match by Christian Cage. Mm-hmm. And of course, having to be the one to one-up him, as a father does. We see Kip Sabian and Mother Wayne out as well. And we go into the break, leaving off on the cliffhanger of who could possibly be the person from Christian's past. Is it bad that I wasn't even thinking about the fact that they were in Detroit tonight? So I'm like, was it going to be freaking Tyson Tomko or something?
Yeah, I was thinking, like, who could it be? I was like, obviously they're teasing, but I was just like, like, who could it randomly be at all? Like a Hardy? Or could it be, who are they bringing in?
And it could have been Trish Stratus. No,
yeah. It could have been anybody. I'm like, who are they bringing in? And then obviously we find out that it is Rhino, and it's like, oh, Detroit. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. And he got a great pop, and the crowd was all about Rhino. It was cool to see him. Good spot for him. And he actually had a pretty decent match with Nick Wayne too. It was pretty good for what it was. It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, Rhino got his stuff in, hit a big spine buster. Also of note that he is officially TNA Hall of Famer as well too. So I mean, gotta have those stats where they are. ECW original. But I mean, oddly enough, Nick Wayne gets the win in this one using the kill switch.
Yeah. Sure
which
did.
I was not expecting. No. He gets the win, retains the World Television Championship. And we kind of get into more of the same with Christian Cage. Like, no. I'm going to wrap the belt around your waist until he doesn't. And he just drops it in the ring and gets out.
Yeah, I'm excited about Nick Wayne going over to Japan. But now I don't want him to go to Japan, because I don't want to put this on pause for a month, because I'm digging this. I think this is what they're doing with Nick Wayne here. I think this is like the starting process of making him a single star. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to use a veteran like Christian to get him there. I've been since Christian's come back the last 2 or 3 weeks, I have very much been enjoying this. And now we kind of have a cliffhanger here a little bit, because Christian, he takes the belt. Nick Wayne is trying to grab it from him. And then it looks like he's going to put it around his waist again, but he doesn't. And Nick Wayne's clearly agitated. And he's like, what the hell's going on? And he looks like he's going to hand it to him. And he just kind of does the thing where Nick goes to grab it and he just drops it. And when Christian leaves, he's smiling and laughing. Like, he's not being a dick. He doesn't have that stoic look walking out. Like, he's like laughing at it. And so I'm interested for this to go forward, but obviously we're going to at least put the Nick Wayne being there on a pause for probably what would seem like a month or so.
No, and then on top of that too, JPG, I think the bigger thing I've noticed is that now it's a time for Kip Sabian to step up finally, because we don't have Killswitch back yet. We're going to have Nick Wayne off TV for a month. If there's ever time to like focus on building Kip Sabian's stock back up in AEW, you still have him do this, because when they exited the ring, Kip went right with Christian.
He went right with
Mother
Christian,
Wayne stayed, and they embraced.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to think is, do you have Kip Sabian with the influence of one Christian Cage go after the TNT Championship and Adam Cole?
I think that could happen. Yeah, I mean, I could easily see Kip Sabian being the one while Nick Wayne is away, being under the wing of Christian. So then when Nick Wayne comes back, Kip Sabian is kind of raised up a level in the patriarchy, right? In the group, he's up a level. And then Nick now not only has to deal with the bullshit that Christian's given him, but now he's got to deal with this other guy who's kind of taken his spot officially.
Exactly.
And I think that's a funny way. I think that's a funny way to do it. And I think that would be a very intriguing way to do it. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed for him going after a secondary title, like a mid-card title. I think Adam Cole is kind of looking for a challenger at the moment. So I think you can kind of go that route.
Yeah, and also Christian Cage, a former two-time TNT champion. But you say the words Ring of Honor or ROH, and Auntie Collins shows up with the $1.99 super chat. Two Kings. Our favorite, or at least my favorite, co-host for a little show that's come back this Friday that we will get into at the end when we plug some stuff. Auntie Collins just starting the episode of Dynamite. I think you're going to be in for it.
Yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, there's plenty of things for the sickos in this episode, so I cannot complain about that. But yes, thank you so much, friend, for the super chat.
Yes, thank you.
And then we also have another backstage segment, this time with Roosh, talking about how Kevin Knight cost him $100,000 in that 8-man tag, and saying that he's going to get it back with blood, because when you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
You get the horns.
Subtle foreshadowing, don't you think?
Yeah, I loved how when he was cutting this promo, when he said, when you mess with the bull, the crowd said, you get the horns before, and then he said it right after the crowd. And I just thought, I like the way that went down, the way it happened.
Yes, absolutely. And then we also get into, when we return from the break, Renee actually, no, that is after this next match. How the hell could I forget this?
No.
We have Trios tag team action. We have Mark Briscoe. We have Speedball Mike Bailey and Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana at ringside, as one does. I definitely caught myself doing the dance this week. I've officially taken the bug, and I swerve when I drive, not literally. New York State, I do not swerve when I drive. Please don't revoke my license. Going against the Young Bucks and Ricochet. And we talk about how they had that 8-man tag match last week where it's like all over the place, nonstop action. This felt like the perfect part to the chaos of last week. I mean, we got to see kind of like Ricochet like immediately backpedaling and it's like, oh no, I don't want to start this match. I don't know what the fuck you guys thought about. Like, yeah, I was saying I know how to beat them, but didn't mean I wanted to do it myself. And then we see like the faces immediately getting the advantage on him, and then a lot of back and forth over who's getting the momentum in this match. I mean, Mike Bailey doing Mike Bailey things. I think that Hurricane Rana off of Swerve's shoulders onto Ricochet was a huge one. Yeah. I mean, we see them come back on the break. I mean, they had those triple dives to the outside. Bailey hits a different Hurricane Rana, this time taking out the Young Bucks on the outside. It's just craziness, one after another. And then we got to see it look like he was going to go for a shooting star press off the top, got countered, and then immediately catches Matt Jackson, hits a standing shooting star press, almost like a Spanish fly. Gets that after near fall. And then, of course, after that, it's just like a waterfall, like move after move after move. All 6 men go down. And then we start to see Swerve kind of striking back. So he gets that huge hot tag. He takes out both of the Young Bucks, hits the Gritty, then he hits a double suplex on them, hits another Gritty. And then Ricochet also getting taken out in the mix. Huge power bomb, the way that he caught him from the springboard in. And then we got to see a huge moment there where he's hitting a backbreaker. Then Mark Briscoe hits a Death Valley driver. Then you have Mike Bailey hitting that penalty kick, and then a moonsault into the double knees. And then immediately after that, a froggy bow from Mark Briscoe. And then another near fall.
Mm.
I mean, the way they've been breaking up pins this whole match was great. Nick Jackson made it in at the neck of time. Got to see a huge blockbuster the outside from Briscoe to Nick. Got to see a triangle moonsault from Bailey to take out Matt Jackson on the other, or no, take out Ricochet on the other side. But Matt Jackson, by hook or by crook, a small package gets the win.
Yeah. I like, man, this was a lot of fun. Again, I'll tell you what, Ricochet, he fits in with the Elite. He fits in with the Elite very well. Like his character and
honestly.
I know. But his character and the way this match unfolded and things like that, like he fits in with the Elite big time. I don't think they're going to be adding him or any other members here, but he really does fit in with them he fits that vibe completely. This was a very, very good match. That whole ending, there was a sequence in the middle where kind of the Young Bucks and Ricochet took over, and their three-way offense that they did into like a destroyer at one point, it was just a thing of beauty. And it looked like they had been teaming for a decade as a trios team, that's how smooth it looked with the three of them. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, just chaos as you would expect. And Swerve getting pinned with the small package, continuing the Bucks just getting one up on him. And you could see afterwards his reaction. He was just, shocked. And then it turned into anger. And, it was really good stuff. It was really good stuff with the Bucks just keep on getting the best of Swerve. And it just infuriates him more and more.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really heelish either. I mean, it was just pretty much a clean roll-up, too, out of nowhere, which is kind of a way to make sure that you're protecting him, too. And then I feel like what I kind of noticed Ricochet's role has been with the Elites, like, think Brandon Cutler, where you have, like, that little bit of comic relief, but he's actually getting the ability to wrestle to his full capacity, so he's still able to have those high quality matches to be on par or in parity with the Bucks, but you're also like still doing the whole like bald head shit to get over for a cheap pop and everything too, and you could still have him have those funny moments without it being just like, okay, we have a guy in a tracksuit and a camera who doesn't do anything. He's there to take a bump when we don't want to, basically. Like, they're actually letting Ricochet still do Ricochet shit while layering in that he's a punk ass, which should always be the case with your heels.
I agree.
And then from here, we have Renee Paquette backstage talking with Will Ospreay about the challenge that the Don Callis family made. And then before we could even get into anything that Ospreay has to say, MJF interrupts backstage like MJF does. And before even talking about anything that's actually on his mind, he plugs that ShopAEW.com now has replicas of the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Get yours so he could be richer and you could be poorer. I mean, it's a vow.
Salesman, he's a salesman.
Yep. And then he also mentioned how he hopes that Will Ospreay wins the Owen Cup to also go all the way, win that world title, just so MJF can beat him for it, just like he did for the international title, because it's easier than taking candy from a baby. Mm-hmm. Which Will says, if that's the case, then I'm just going to drop you on your head and leave you laying there like I did in London. So it's just like, I don't know what the hell you thought. And then Max trying to be the funny one, saying that you're the reason why they put directions on the shampoo bottles. And that if they wrestle again, he's going to prove that nobody's on the level of the devil. And as he's going to walk off, Will grabs him and is like, no, I am. And I'm on a whole other level or another level. Words are hard. It's been a long day, folks. But a nice backstage segment touching on the past between both men. I'm very intrigued to see if Will Ospreay's going all the way, because I almost feel like anything you do with Ospreay and MJF, it doesn't necessarily need the world title, as we saw last year.
I agree.
I wouldn't hate it being involved, but I mean,
I was going to say, I could see MJF maybe being the first challenger for Will Ospreay if he does complete, winning the Owen and then beating Moxley or whoever the champion will be, we should say. For the title, I could see MJF as like a first core challenger of Ospreay. I could see that happening, running it back. Again, thought this was really good. I loved how they touched on their past. I loved how MJF is being MJF and saying, I hope you win, because that'll be another easy dub for me, because every time I wrestle you, it's been an easy dub. Just kind of openly forgetting the last time they wrestled where Will beat him. But you know, it is what it is. But I thought it was really good. I think it touches on the past while still foreshadowing for the future.
Exactly.
And I think that was a good way to do it. It's a big time match that we've seen before, but I think it's a match we want to see more of. And I think whether there is the title involved, which I would assume I think it might be, or not, I think it's a feud that we all want to see. We want to see these guys go at it again. And I thought this was a nice little foreshadowing.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because now we have it clearly established that both men in the finals for the Owen have a foil. Mm-hmm. So whether it's going to be Swerve to Hangman or if it's going to be MJF to Ospreay, it's kind of going to be looming like, okay, it's pretty much assumed that whoever's going to win the men's Owen is probably going to win the world title at All In. And it's kind of like, okay, where do we go from there?
And I think MJF also has unfinished business with both Ospreay because he doesn't really the stuff he did with Hangman. Yeah, they moved away from it, but it's really unfinished. You know what I mean? Like so he has unfinished business with both of them. And MJF in his promos, obviously he's been focused on the Hurt Syndicate, but like he's still referencing how he wants to get back to Triple B in most of his promos. So I think they're doing a good job of kind of no matter who it is coming out of All In, even if it is Moxley, I guess. MJF is kind of lining himself up to be that next guy, no matter who it is after All In. Like, hey, get to All In, figure out who's going to be the champion, and then I'm going to take it from you and get back what's mine, you know? And I think they're doing a really good job with MJF kind of leaving it open for whoever it is too, which is nice.
And it's also something to be said that he's not jaded to the fact that, yeah, I'm a pro wrestler. Of course I want to be the world champion. That should always be the MO. And he's proven like, yeah, I might be trying to also like join this stable and like become part of a group of badasses, but it doesn't change the fact that I won a world title that I once held. Like, why would you not want to be a world champion if you're a professional wrestler?
That's the goal. Don't get me wrong, there are other motivations, but if you are a pro wrestler, I feel like you would want to be the best, and being the best means if you're the world champion, you are the best. And I think, that should be the goal. So.
Absolutely. And then we come back from the break. We have a former women's world champion sitting down with Renee Paquette. We have Jamie Hayter talking about the finals of the women's Owen Hart tournament, talking about Mercedes Moné. She does mention that she might not have the accolades or the match catalog that Mercedes has had, but she has integrity. And she's also willing to prove that Mercedes isn't untouchable. I know Renee tries to also bring up the fact that Jamie missed so much action with that back injury, but she assures her that she's fine, and that she also notices that Mercedes has been looking past her. And no sooner than when she says that, she gets ambushed by the TBS champion, and they brawl into the theater. You see kind of Mercedes get dumped over the balcony that's like a foot off the ground, so not really a balcony, very theater. So I'm not mad about that.
Yeah.
They're brawling in the opera box, but wouldn't they be? But yes, we eventually see it looks like Jamie's going to hit the haterade onto Mercedes, but Mercedes runs away skittish as the heel does, and we see Jamie trying to stand tall at the top of the ramp. But before she could get into a true celebration, bam, Mercedes Moné comes back and locks her in a statement maker, has her there. Refs trying to pull her apart and everything too, but eventually Mercedes Moné is the one that stands tall instead. So another layer going into the Owen finals on the women's side of things.
Yep. And I also loved how when Hayter was speaking, she was like, she said something like, I'll be damned if Mercedes Moné wins the Owen, because she's like the very antithesis of what that man was. And she kind of leaned in like, no, I'm like, over my dead body, am I going to let someone like her win this tournament and represent that man? I thought that was a good little touch leading into what you mentioned, how she said she's overlooking me, just as Mercedes tries to get one up on her by beating her and attacking her from behind. I thought this was good. Love me a good brawl. And the heel looking like a chicken shit and running away, and then the heel coming back and doing chicken shit stuff and ending up on top and, kind of pulling one over her eyes a little bit. I thought it was really good. I still, as the weeks pass, I still am leaning that I think Jamie Hayter is doing this, and I think she's going to win this thing. But I thought this was good. I liked how they've had the sit downs back-to-back weeks with each of them. And I thought this has been a really good couple weeks for this match. I'm excited about it. And I want to see how it goes at Double or Nothing. Both Owen, they've knocked it out of the park. We talked about it, how at least from like a match standpoint, this was the best year of the Owens. I also feel like heading into I just feel like it's gone really well. Like kind of having the few weeks here to build up to these final matches at the pay-per-view. And I think they've done a really good job at making everyone excited for these matches and building them up very good. And I thought tonight killed it on both sides.
I agree. And then I will say of note, I feel like I'm 99% sure that it's going to be Jamie Hayter, but here's the thing, though, is that I feel like if they somehow decide that now's the time to pull the trigger on Tony versus Mercedes, the problem is that you're also holding up the TBS championship with it. So unless by some way Mercedes loses the title before then, which, I mean, it's possible. Because, I mean, you do have other stuff before then. I mean, you have Grand Slam Mexico coming up, too. So who's to say that something can't happen in Arena Mexico and she drops the title there? Maybe you don't necessarily have to have Mercedes versus Athena happen at All In again, but it could be where Athena still is on the card, whether it's going to be defending the Ring of Honor championship. Maybe at that point she's already holding the TBS championship. But I feel like if you're going to do Tony versus Mercedes, that has to be the main event of All In.
I would think so. And
I don't trust them to do that right now because it feels like the way the thing's been going, we've gotten so close to having the women close out multiple AEW pay-per-views. The fact that they blew the Hollywood ending by having that go on, like not even like
it was like third, wasn't it? Wasn't like third or fourth? Yeah.
Hour 2?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just don't want them to fumble when we finally get a women's main event pay-per-view for AEW. And I feel like there's also going to be other ways to get more women on the All-In card too by having Mercedes lose to Jamie Hayter. And it's not going to ruin anything with how Mercedes has been built as like the super dominant heel and everything and being the belt collector and all that stuff. If anything, it shows like, yeah, she's not perfect. Which is going to make it more enticing for whoever actually beats her for a championship to have that much more of a meteoric run.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And of course, we can't talk about the TBS championship without talking about former TBS champion Willow Nightingale backstage with Felicia Toot. They're talking about the fact that she still has issues with the Death Riders and she wants to be the first one to meet them with her fists. And then before she could get into the rest of that, Chris Statlander is saying like, hey, you've been ducking me backstage and everything. We're finally going to talk right here, right now, because you owe it to me. And then Willow's just like, well, I don't have anything else to say to you. Like, I've said everything I need to say. I get that you lost the Owen. You're feeling some type of way. Kind of like how I felt last year when you cost me the Owen. But it seems like they're on the men and everything too, because it just seems like immediately from there, Will's just like, you know what? I mean, we both want to prove that we still have something to fight for. So I would say tomorrow night for the sickos, you and I go one-on-one and Statlander accepts. So once again, the battle for Long Island, you got Willow Nightingale going against Chris Statlander. Friends turned enemies, turned acquaintances, and everything in between. I can't help but to be happy about the fact that every time that they've wrestled has been good.
Oh my God, yeah. And yeah, I'm never gonna say no to watching these two fight each other. And I like it. There's a history here. I like how they dive into the history, and I love Willow, who's always this happy-go-lucky, just ball of fun and ball of happiness. Even she's like, I don't want to talk about this stuff. Like, I just don't want to talk about it at all. But I will fight you tomorrow. I don't want to talk about it, but I'll fight you tomorrow if you're down. And Statlander's like, I'm down. Let's go. And yeah, in the end, we're winning because we get to watch these two. You said every match has been good. I would say good to great. Like, they've been excellent matches. And I see no reason why we're not just going to get another one tomorrow night on Collision, and it's going to rule.
Oh, I'm sure tomorrow we're going to get a great one. And then it's also just going to affirm that they're wrestling soulmates, because why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I agree.
But yes, from there we get into our Continental Championship Eliminator match, Kazuchika Okada versus Kevin Knight. But Kevin Knight can't even make it out to the ring before Rush is on the attack. I mean, he's a man of his word. He said he wanted blood. He was coming for it. And then as it seems like Rush is getting ready to finish off Kevin Knight with this camera cord that's wrapped around his neck. You see Dralisco trying to come out as well to even the odds not even the odds. He's giving the numbers advantage to Rush. Speedball comes out, takes out Dralistico, and then runs off Rush. And then you kind of see oh shit, is he going to be able to start this match? Aubrey's like, hey, I can call it off right here if you don't think that you're good to go. And then you see him starting to get up to his feet. He struggles by the apron. It seems like he's good to go, and then she's just also reminding people like, hey, you got to go. Continental rules. Like, you cannot be at ringside. So, like, if this is going to go, you got to go. And lo and behold, the match starts, and it seems like Okada was going to be early on with the advantage. We saw immediately hits a huge elbow in the corner, hits a DDT for near fall, and just really works on Kevin Knight throughout the whole commercial break. But Kevin Knight does have some fight left in him, too, because we get to see him really starting to come back. He's had a nice sky high for a near fall. We got to see that big Hurricane Rana, a splash again. Like, he's really starting to fight back into this match. But, I mean, eventually Okada, slam after slam after slam, hits an elbow drop as well. And then from there, we start to see it looks like he's going to set up for the Rainmaker. No, we have multiple roll-up attempts by Kevin Knight for multiple near falls, hits a big Pele kick, goes up to the top rope to try to hit the UFO, that twist and frog splash that he does, but gets caught with Okada's knees. And it seems like Okada's going to hit a huge dropkick off the ropes. Kevin Knight holds on to that. Doesn't end up getting his, but I mean, he does catch a boot and an uppercut for his troubles. Seems like Okada's going to be back in control. Nope, Kevin Knight hits a dropkick out of nowhere. And then as it seems like he's going to springboard, bam, Okada, another dropkick, then a Rainmaker for the win. And then more and more, Rainmaker, and then Speedball Mike Bailey coming out once again to make the save, and Okada runs away.
They have knocked it out of the park with Kevin Knight from day one. I thought this, it's, they're building a future feud with him when it comes to Roosh. And then they also did that, and they made him look like, they made him look like an underdog. He got his ass kicked before the match, and it looks like he's not even going to be able to wrestle. And at first I was like, oh, we already saw Speedball wrestle, but are they going to put Speedball in this match maybe instead of him? But then they did the spot where Kevin Knight's like, nope, you know what? I'm hurt, but I'm going to fight. And for him to have the kind of match that he ended up having, it just shows the guts of the kid. And I think that that's something that wins over audiences. It wins. People are going to want to root for that guy. And I think they've put him in position since he showed up where they're immediately making him matter and immediately making him a star. And I thought they've crushed it. I thought this was a really good match, a strong win for Okada, even with what happened before. And then I think everything that happened after the match, I think that teases a future Speedball versus Okada match. I know where we have another match for Speedball that was booked that came out of kind of everything involved here. But yeah, I thought this was really good. I thought they made Kevin Knight look like, a kid that doesn't quit, and Okada gets a win, which you expect him to do. And they kind of tease some stuff in the future. I thought this was really well done.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever we do get that one-on-one between Okada and Speedball, it's going to be a home run, because why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
And then after this, we have Don Callis family backstage again, because it seems like everybody has an issue with the Don Callis family. Quite newfangled, really. Yeah. And then instead of talking about the challenge from earlier tonight, we are talking about the Outrunners, because they've been trying to go after Rocky Romero and Trent, basically saying that Don Callis family says, you know what, we got 4 members here. Why don't you find 2 more guys, and then we're going to kick your asses back to 1983. So future challenge to be made for some 8-man tag action. They mentioned some of the action to come on Collision tomorrow, including Daniel Garcia versus a member of FTR. Lee Johnson is in action as well. Also of note, they announced that next week at Beach Break, it is going to be Hangman and Will Ospreay going against Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander for the Don Callis family. So that is official. And then from there, we get into the main event. Samoa Joe, 1/3 of the World Trios champions, going against Claudio Castagnoli, and who's coming out alone, by the way. But immediately it's just a hard-hitting affair. Claudio trying to get the early advantage, and then Joe's like, nah, I'm going to get you in the coquine clutch immediately. Claudio gets into the ropes. They go to the outside. Some spills to the barricades. We got to see Claudio get a huge face wash into the barricade, but then also coming back, sends Joe into the LEDs, kind of branding the LED barricade, and saw him go into the apron as well from there. But it also seems like when they roll back into the ring, Claudio's trying to escape one more time, but eventually catches Joe in the ropes, sets up some chops in the corner, and then Joe starts fighting back and hits a huge kick in the opposite corner as well. Joe's going for a muscle buster, but Claudio's holding on to the top rope, and then also rakes the eyes of Samoa Joe, and then it leads to him taking Joe's arm and falling to the outside, but keeping his arm snapping against the top rope to take us into the final commercial break of the evening. We come back, a huge chin lock there from Claudio, trying to maintain control on Samoa Joe. Gets some huge knees in, but eventually Claudio's going off the ropes, takes a huge power slam from Samoa Joe for a near fall out of nowhere. Got to see Joe hit another running senton, and it seems like as they're getting ready to possibly set up for some other action, Joe's getting backed in the corner, almost takes out Bryce Remsburg, and as that happens, you just see Claudio breaking the eyes of Samoa Joe as he does. And it seems like he's going to go for the neutralizer, but instead gets countered by Samoa Joe, tries to back body drop him, but no, Claudio ever so agile. Lands on his feet, hits the springboard spinning elbow, and then from there it seems like he's going to go for that giant swing, but no. Samoa Joe, ever the wiser, counters that into the coquina clutch, and Claudio, just like Jon Moxley, tapping immediately for the win. And then Joe, being the genius that he is, he knows the Death Riders are looming. We see them start to make their way out to ringside, and then before he could even finish inviting them into the ring, we see Powerhouse Hobbs coming out to the ring with a steel chair, trying to get one back on them taking out Hook, on them taking out Shibata. And then it seems like Moxley and Yuta, are they going to make their way out to the ring? No. But they're going to wail on poor old Claudio Castagnoli with this steel chair, 2 big shots to the back, and then Samoa Joe hitting a huge gourd buster with that chair standing up, the hard edge going into the sternum of Claudio Castagnoli, and the ops stand tall to close the show. Momentum in Samoa Joe's favor ahead of the steel cage match for the world title next week.
Yeah, solid main event. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought this was a hard-hitting affair, like you said, from both these guys. I expected it to be so. I almost expected that the Death Riders might get involved during the match, not after the match, but I thought it was a good match. Joe gets the win. He looked strong heading into a big-time world title match next week. And then the Death Riders show up, and I liked, I bet you if I was Claudio, I don't know how I would feel about my buddies not coming and helping me and kind of sacrificing me to the wolves for the evening. Yeah. But I feel like Claudio probably had an idea that might be the case. He's been there since the beginning. He knows how they roll. But I thought it was good that Joe got a little bit of revenge, because we've seen Claudio kind of do the chair spots with Shibata and Hook. And this was Joe's, okay, here's some payback for you, buddy. And then you get the stare down at the end. And then next week we have that massive cage match for the title in Chicago. And it should be a time. Jose. It's going to be a good one to talk about right after.
Oh, darn tootin'. And I think also of note, Excalibur mentioning that it kind of seems like, of course, Moxley's not afraid to sacrifice Wheeler Yuta. He's always been the whipping boy. But having like your general in Claudio Castagnoli being left to fend for his lonesome has you wondering, are the Death Riders okay? Who knows?
Yeah, I could see that happening. Claudio's really, he's never been that guy. It's always been Wheeler Yuta. When something bad is going to happen to somebody in the Death Riders, it's Wheeler Yuta. So him kind of leaving Claudio out there, who's really, Marina is kind of his 1A, but Claudio's been the main guy of the others. And for him, to kind of hold the troops back and be like, nope, let him get his kind of thing. We'll see. But I think it could cause problems. I think it absolutely could.
Yeah, only time will tell. We have 1 week before we get into Beach Break. Gosh, what a dynamite to wrap things up for this week. I know we had Corey Michaels in the chat talking about how Rico prayed for times like these. That was well done there on the wordplay. But alas, an episode of Dynamite has come. It has gone. I appreciate everybody that has been sticking around with us. I know it's always late on a Wednesday night. That's kind of our thing with doing a post show after Dynamite. The overruns have been ending before 10:30. I will take that as a win. We had a week that ended right at 10. So hey, another one. But alas, I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate JPJ joining me like always. I couldn't ask for a better co-host for a show like this.
Thank you.
What do you have going on in your neck of the woods that you want to give the old plug ski to?
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow, love wrestling. I got a double dip in the morning. I will be live at 9 a.m. Eastern with Drew Nicholas. We are doing Firmly Inc., where we talk about WWE and AEW in the week that was in those companies. And then tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the flagship show I Love Wrestling. Me and my main squeeze pluggo between two beards. We got a big guest coming on tomorrow. We haven't announced it yet, but once it gets released, it should be getting released early in the morning. But very excited about getting this person on. They'll be with us for about 45 minutes or most of the first hour. So we're going to be talking Backlash and previewing that and all that fun stuff, and talking probably a little Dynamite. And in professional sports, my teams here in Boston are pissing me off, Jose. So I might have some things to say tomorrow night. So,
yeah, you know what? I love that for me.
I bet. I think everybody loves that for them because I'm Boston and nobody likes Boston. But I'm still not worried. Celtics in 6. I'm still not worried. But they're playing. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I will say I'm not even an NBA guy, but hey, I mean, the Knicks are doing what the Knicks are doing, so.
Well, they're winning, which is normally what they don't do. That's the problem, Jose. Well, for me, that's my problem. Not everybody else. That's my problem.
It's okay. Cena's probably going to win on Backlash, so
there we go. That'll be our we'll get the W back there. So.
But yes, I mean, I know for me, this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, over at our local establishment, Auntie Collins, you saw them in the chat earlier, and myself have a little ditty we call the Mother Tuck and Post Show. Mm-hmm. We are talking RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. It is kicking off this Friday, so a different format for their season. They're doing a little bracket style stuff, so they have a couple round robins for challenges, which I'm excited for. Going to break it down. Thank God we don't have to do all 18 queens in one episode because I would have lost my mind. But hey, you know what? I'm in for it. Of course, every Wednesday you find me here at bodyslam.net for AEW Dynamic'd Up this Saturday at 4 p.m. on my own Twitch, Jose on the Air. It is my 5-year Twitch affiliate.
Oh, heck yeah. All right.
So we're going to be playing some games. I know we're going to start out with some Call of Duty Warzone. We're going to have some Jackbox shenanigans going on. Might be getting into some lockdown protocol. So if that tickles any of your fancies, it is the same ad as down there. So, hey, drop a follow. You never know. We might have some goals going on where there might be a giveaway. You never know. But I do know that you will find us here next week. Same time, same place for Beach Break.
Ooh, it's a big one.
AEW
it's going to
Dynamite.
be a big one.
But until then, I mean, make sure that you're always staying in touch with everything Body Slam has going on. Bodyslam.net. Bodyslam on all the socials.
I forgot. I was going to say, we just came back. Sorry. We just came back on Monday, but Raw Dogs post shows on Mondays here on Body Slam. Me and Corey coming back. I know we had a little bit of a break there, but we are back as well. I forgot to plug that, so my apologies. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, Raw Dogs on Mondays, DynaMic'd on Wednesdays, eatshroombar.com. Code BODYSLAM, 25% off your first order. Get that protein in. Get those adaptogens. Woo-saw. Don't stink. All the fun things. And we will see you guys next week. So until then, have a good night, everybody.